Hello everybody, we're in the final stages of the pre-made exploration. Here's snack time. Let's go ahead and examine the deck. The overview, only 20 creatures, and it's 3.1, so average mana cost with 25 lands, but not a ton of creatures. A decent sampling. We start with Minstrosity, 3-1 when it dies, create a food token. Almost all of these are going to create a food token. As the name of the deck implies, snack time, it's a food deck. 2 copies of Sugar Rush, an instant, +3 till end of turn. You draw a card, so you get to replace it at least. Mosswood Dreadknight is a good card. Notice it's a good card, but it's not a food card. For the adventure, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Then you get a 3/2 Trampler on the board. When it dies, you can cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. So you get a little bit of time, and you can draw a card and lose 1 life again. And then yet again, after you cast it as a venture again, you can bring it down as a creature again. 2 Titanic Growths to add +4/+4 until end of turn to target creature. 1 good removal card, a reprint, Assassin's Trophy, destroy target permanent and opponent controls. They do get a basic land card out of it. Experimental Confectioner gives a food token when it comes in, 2/3. Whenever you sacrifice a food, you get a black rat creature token. 2 Feed the Cauldrons. I guess it counts as removal. You destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less. If it happens to be your turn, you also create a food token. In order to get the food effect, you have to sort of treat this as a sorcery, but it's a rather limited kind of removal card, right? It's only good against creatures, only good for mana value 3 or less. Gumdrop Poisoner, you can create a food token. Then you can bring down a 3/2 lifelinker. When Gumdrop Poisoner enters, up to 1 target creature gets -X/-X till end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. So you're looking at having to spend 5 mana, right? You need 2 to sacrifice the artifact to gain 3 life, and then 3 more to bring down the Poisoner. That's if you don't have any other lifelink or life gain abilities out besides spending the 2 to sacrifice the food. Sweet Tooth Rich, I think this is a reprint as well. When it enters, create a food token. Sacrifice a food, target player loses 2 life. So it's sort of another way to win if you get a lot of food, but you can't attack past the enemies of creature defenders. You can just sacrifice all your food tokens. Hollow Scavenger, Bakery Raid lets you create a food token. Then for just 1 mana, you can sacrifice food. You can only do it once per the turn, but it'll change your 3/2 Scavenger into a 5/4. Return from the Wilds, you get 2 out of the 3 choices. Basic land, 1/1 white human creature token, or create a food. Spider Food, this is probably one of the best, how do you want to put it, alternative cards. We're used to getting cards where you can destroy a target artifact, enchantment, or creature flying. With this one, for the same cost, you also create a food token. So I would probably be tempted to use Spider Food in place of any other similar type green sorcery that has the similar effects. But it's very fitting to fit in with the food theme for this particular deck. Huntsman's Redemption, another good card that doesn't have to do with food. You create a 3/3 green beast creature token. For Chapter 2, sacrifice a creature. If so, you can get a creature or a basic land card. Almost everybody goes to find a good creature. Put it into your hand. And then for Chapter 3, up to 2 target creatures get +2/+2 and gain trample. So ideally, you don't want to draw this and play it on turn 3. You want to get a couple of other creatures out and then be able to maybe cast a 3/3 green creature token, maybe keep that 3/3 beast and sacrifice something smaller to go do something else. But if 3/3 beast is all that you've got, then I guess you'll do that to go get the really big creature. But you really want to make Chapter 3 hit if you can. Wildwood Mentor, when a token you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Wildwood Mentor. So we don't have to worry about just food tokens, but if you do have one of these experimental confectioners out, maybe you can also get the black creature tokens to count 2 with the Wildwood Mentor. Whenever it attacks, another target attacking creature gets +X/+X, where X is Wildwood Mentor's power. So the Mentor would need to stay down on the field, stay alive, get the benefit from additional creatures coming in that are tokens to get the +1s to increase its power, and to do anything more than just adding 1/1 onto another target attacking creature. That's a lot of heft. So you kind of need a lot of room there. I'm not sure that we have a lot of room in the current environment. The current environment moves kind of fast. Greta, Sweet Tooth Scourge, 3/3 legendary. It's got two good things besides creating a food token. You can sacrifice a food, get a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or for 1 and a black, sacrifice food, you draw a card and lose 1 life. 2 Reach for the Skies, Flash. Each creature has +3/+2 and has reach. So between that and the spider food, it looks like we're good against flyers, right? They've taken that in consideration. Also, when this is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get to draw a card. So just like Sugar Rush, it replaces itself. However, we've got a very low amount of interaction cards. It looks like this deck is based on increasing your creatures in order to do combat tactics and just win that way. But the problem is there's only 20 creatures, so that's kind of low. And we've got 6 of these combat tactics, 2 of the Sugar Rushes, 2 Titanic Growths, which are not food-based, and 2 Reach for the Sky, which this and the Sugar Rush do give you card draw, but that's 6 combat tactics for 20 creatures. I'm not sure the mix is right. Bristlebud Farmer, when it enters, you create 2 food tokens. You get a 5/5 Trampler. When it attacks, if you sacrifice a food, you mill 3 cards and put a permanent card from among them into your hand. If you're not too conservative with the cards in your deck, I mean, you almost always want to take advantage of this milling. And maybe you'll mill away a couple of extra lands that you don't need, or possibly you do need a land and you're guaranteed to get one if you're milling 3 cards in a row. Provisions Merchant, you create a food token, of course. When it enters, 3/3. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice food. If you do, attacking creatures get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. So this is a very good card. Has the food synergy. The trample is the really attractive thing out of all of this. Lignite's Conquest, we used this card before. Sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, and or tokens. Return that many creature cards from your battlefield, or from your graveyard to the battlefield. And they're not even tapped either. That's cool. So if you lose, say, 6 of your creatures, but during the course of the match you've got 6 food tokens, you could just sacrifice all your food tokens and get an instant army with just this 1 card. So that's kind of cool. Scream Puff, I'm not sure about the design of this card. For 5 mana, you get a 4/5 Death Touch. When it does combat damage to a player, you create a food token. By the time you get far enough into the battle that you can afford Scream Puff, and assuming that the enemy doesn't block them, what are you going to do with the food? I mean, if you're doing 4 damage per turn, you're probably getting close to the end of the match already. Gingerbread Hunter, for the puny snack, you can do target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. It's instant, so you could either outright destroy a 2/2 creature, or you can maybe do it as a combat trick. And then when it enters, of course, you get a food token, and you end up with a 5/5 giant. Not much in terms of the lands. They do give you 1 underground mortuary to surveil, but that's it. This is really Assassin's Trophy is the biggest interaction that you've got, and then for the small things, the Feed the Cauldrons, and for flyers, the spider food. And the rest you're relying on combat tricks to have your creatures ready, have enough creatures out, have the right size creatures, and have one of those combat tricks that you're sure will work. I don't know. We're going to test it out. My play testing, it did okay. If I came up against a big creature and I didn't have my 1 main removal spell, I was really in trouble. But this is a food-themed deck. I was originally kind of held a low opinion of food-themed decks until they started beating me. So I don't create them a lot myself, but I know when they had the Universes Beyond deck for Lord of the Rings came out for that expansion, they had some really good food cards in that one. So depending on what we have available to us, they can be fun. I don't normally want to chump block with the Sweet Tooth Witch. I really like the idea of sacrificing food later and getting the enemy that way. Let's try this. These guys can start to fly. That's a gross card. Just because they have the Warren Elder and they can pump them all up easy enough. But right now they'd have to tap out. We could block a couple. Never mind. They get +2 to everything instead. Leaving us not much of a choice, right? We pass. Let's see. We can get rid of 1 and oops, hang on. A 1 and a 2 and a 3. It's probably worth it for us to do that. Yeah. They were ready with the removal. That means Chapter 3 is going to be wasted, which is exactly what I didn't want to do. Let's do a land and a token. And a land and a token. I'm basically just trying to thin out my deck right now, so I can do stuff besides get to the middle game and flood out with lands. If I get the lands out now, maybe that's actually worth more than getting some food tokens. Yeah, you know what? They have so many ways to beef things up. Let's do that now. We get rid of Delney with that. That's a good deal. And still keep Assassin's Trophy for something really big. This looks like a cheap deck, right? It's not a pre-made. And we still end up flooding out with lands anyway. They've got 3 colors. Alright, we have enough spells in our deck that I'm not worried. I was able to use those other 2 ramp spells to bring out the lands instead of generate food, just because I'm confident we have a ton of cards in this deck that allow us to create foods as it is. That's a few too many lands that we're drawing, though. Luckily, my opponent is having the exact same problem that I am. Okay, now we're not even afraid of a board wipe so much, right? Because we've got Mosswood Dread Knight down. Yes, sacrifice food. Our creatures are powerful enough now they might have a removal spell. There it is, 4 or greater. Do you have 2 of those in a row? Have you been saving up? I guess I have. Kind of showed you in the current environment, we're able to get so many creatures down these days. The single point removal isn't as good as it used to be. The nice thing about this is you don't have to tap a creature for that. You can have the 1 life, that's fine. Let's do Assassin's Trophy, get rid of the Moonrise Cleric. I don't mind giving them another land at this stage. I should have enough mana that I can attack, and then they'll just be dead. Thanks to the witch here. Sacrifice a food. We target the player, sorry. Sacrifice the food. Plus we create the rat. We can just sacrifice the food and gain our own life back too, by the way. Create some extra rats. And then we get rid of the opponent using food tokens. Snack time indeed. Alright, we won our first match. Let's not get too excited. One match does not alone make a data set. We had to chump block a lot of our good value cards early on just to stay alive, but we managed to equalize and then turn the tables regardless. We have a 1 mana play, so we make sure to play the right color of land. And then we just need 1 more land to make the deck work. Let's not show them the black just yet. This is an instant. We need a good creature on the ground. And of course we want to save Assassin's Trophy for something meaningful, and they might get our Assassin's Trophy. They probably should take the spider food, technically. Come on. There you go. Wasn't that hard a choice, was it? Okay, they know we have that land, so we'll play it now. If they have other discard stuff, we could be in trouble from losing an Assassin's Trophy, too. Gross. We really need our spider food now, don't we? Okay, we use this, we get rid of the bat. They get a land out of it. And then I need the black. I want to go ahead and use the adventure on that. So we just attack for the 3. And then we're going to use our spider food to get rid of the forge next turn. Oh, of course. Good timing for them. They'll take our spider food again. And they've got plenty of land already. We need some more land. Thank you. Might as well bring you down now. And might as well attack with the scavenger. Going to be a lot of life gain involved in this deck, isn't there? Yeah, and you can see there's already entirely too much flying here. I really don't have much of a chance left. The bats are going to get me, and an early forge also. They're only going to attack with that? I was going to say. So much life gain. I might as well block that. I mean, it's going to block 2 of the 3 points. Ugh, that is not the right thing to get. So bad. So bad. Yeah, and this is part of the problem with only having one Assassin's Trophy. Our removal spells are so limited, we really have to hoard them, which means we're at an extra disadvantage when it comes to discard decks. Those bats are basically equivalent to discard as far as we're concerned. And yet again, right now, we can't do anything until turn 3, really? See if we get punished for that. Oh, let's see. Whenever one or more creatures you control die, create a food token. Okay. What happens at level 3? 3 of the non-land permits return a graveyard. Creature from the graveyard. Okay. So they get rid of those mill cards. And what did they get? Insidious Roots. Well, if we get one of our Spider Food cards, we can get rid of an Insidious Roots. Stop a 4-2, hey? Hey? No. Oh, do we want to do 4-4 or no? We do the 3... No, we want it to survive. We'll do the 4-4. That may seem like a waste, but... we get a food token. Target player mills 2 cards. So it looks like they'd want to self-mill themselves, right, to get the creatures into the graveyard so then they could have them leave the graveyard. What do we do here? I feel like we do that. We pump up the power first. If they have removal, we're really forcing them right now, yeah? Okay, so they discard a land to power that. I think we hold on to Assassin's Trophy. It's an instant, right? So we can wait. We can use this. And okay, that's still good. What is this? A mirror match? They get all these food tokens. Ooh, not good enough. Let's do this. It's strange that I haven't drawn more land at this point. They do trade. Now, there we go. Now they can start sacrificing their food. Oh, they go get a creature instead. And they're going to do the self-mill. How do we feel about that? I feel like we want to get rid of this thing. And they need to draw more land. That is not more land. Okay, they can get back another creature if they want. Do they have a good creature in here? Not really. This is a good deal they have with the Confectioner and the Scavenger's Talent. What if we just attack? I can use this as an instant, right? This will work. Nope, they're not going for that. You're not the only one who can get food, see? Did they get a good creature yet? Another experimental confectioner, but we've got enough Insidious Roots in the graveyard. Maybe we don't have to worry about certain things. Maybe that's what they wanted. Yigra, Eater of All. Okay, I might be in trouble here. Now I get the land. Yeah, I think we're in trouble. Okay, if I attack now... Yeah, let's attack now. We don't get trample. And I still didn't really get much in the way of land, so I'm still kind of limited on what all I can do here. Okay, so they're going to bring back Yiga, right? I feel like they could have milled me out in all the all the milling of cards that they've done. They're getting kind of low. Are you going to start milling me instead of yourself? They are. There goes my land. Okay. Oh, look at all that land they have available, too. We can afford to attack, right? Oh, I did that wrong. I could have won with the Sweet Tooth Witch. I could have won already. I wasn't even looking. No, well, they have enough mana. They could just sacrifice the whole time, yeah. Yeah, I messed that up. Regardless, I messed that up. This has a finality counter on it as well, right? So we couldn't get it back. Ah, Insidious Roots comes back. And they had a removal card. They only needed one. They had it. I don't want to block with Greta. I don't want to block with Greta. We ended up getting 10 lands. We only got 6 this whole time. I like the way their deck... I like their deck better than my deck. Okay, we can create a chump blocker, go get another land. We can get rid of this puppy. And we can attack. I don't know why they've locked. How do they get food from that? And why aren't they attacking with the rats? I think they're playing with their food. They milled themselves again? Yeah. They have enough stuff now, don't they? The bad thing is other creatures are food, not this thing. So I already used my one removal spell. The one good one I had. Nothing else works. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I feel like I need more life. And see, this is the problem that we identified with this deck from the very beginning. You get one big creature, and we don't have our one Assassin's Trophy. And what options are left to you? And instead of getting a creature, we flooded out with land. I think if I'd used the Sweet Tooth Witch correctly instead of attacking, I think I still would have died. Or I wouldn't have died, but I wouldn't have won because they had all that untapped land and they had all those food tokens. I don't think I had enough to get them to 0. And now, is there anything that I can do to stop Igra? Is there anything left in the deck at all? Yeah. Good game. That's what we got. One big creature is all it takes to beat this deck. We're not hanging around. We're disgusted. Okay, we'll play one more, but I don't feel like this is good design. If you get the bats out, the bats can get rid of our removal spells. If you get something like an Insidious Roots deck, you really need to get rid of Insidious Roots. My Spider Food spells weren't coming up, so that just left Assassin's Trophy. And then we really needed Assassin's Trophy later. But we only had one copy. That's what you call poor design. Whatever other things that are fun that you can do with the food synergies, I feel like the things that are lacking in this deck are so glaringly obvious that it kind of prevents any of the food that you can have with things like the Sweet Tooth Witch or with Greta are counterbalanced by the fact that you don't have the kind of interaction that you really need. We start with the Witch. And we got a lot of Death Touch stuff to worry about. The Sugar Rush doesn't have Trample, so it doesn't really help us that much. Yep, there goes the abilities of the Sweet Tooth Witch, too. Well, I guess it makes us feel better about using Sugar Rush, doesn't it? That. Let's put down Provisions Merchant. If we make them use all their Stasis Field and stuff first, we might get Spider Field out in time. They can now start pumping up their Runes Recluse if they want to. Ouch. I guess we're doing this. Alright, that's all of our ammo already. Against a planeswalker.
Be swift. We haven't much time. I must fight back.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, something other than a land, please. What are we waiting for here? Thanks, Arena. Eight lands to their 6. And no way to go after their planeswalker right now.
Please, buy us more time.
You know, it'd be good if my deck had a flyer. That would be handy. But then, you know what? These two have reach. Yeah, I feel... Okay, Arena. Like, I didn't just lose the last match anyway? This is just yet a different way? Flying wouldn't help me to get past to the Planeswalker anyway? They had just enough for interaction to immobilize my entire force.
My voice beckons to all worlds.
And they're not drawing lands anymore, because they don't need lands anymore. I'm the one that's drawing lands when I need spells. But they got all the lands they needed, now they don't need anymore. Alright, I guess we'll try and prolong this. What is my opponent doing? What are you waiting for? You got nothing else to do. And another land. Was that 3 in a row? Now they can just go get the emblem. Unless they're greedy. Nope, they're greedy. They can afford to be. They got 3 potential blockers if they want. They can just wait it out.
And fight!
Nothing like using Wizard's Own Premades to go ahead and just flood out. Yeah, there's the emblem. There is no way out of that.
The multiverse is at my beck and call.
Way too many lands. Let's go ahead and count, right? Just for, we got 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 lands. And we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spells. Thank you, Arena. Disgusting. Disgusting deck construction. Ooh, I got a jump in token. Alright, let's go ahead and look at you one more time. 1 Assassin's Trophy. That's it. A bunch of combat spell tricks. Some of them might work. 2 of them have card draw replacement. But you'll notice the the ones we needed, we actually needed the spider foods a lot, and we weren't getting them. We needed them against flyers, we needed them against artifacts, needed them against enchantments, and they were just not coming up. So it kind of tells you that 2 is probably too few. We should probably have a third of them and one less reach for the sky. And I'm really not certain that Scream Puff, I mean, it fits with the food synergies, but, you know, you saw how effective the other deck just was with having the chump blockers with Death Touch at a much lower rate. Just 1/1 Death Touchers are much more effective. You can get them in earlier. Yeah, this deck is kind of, it's just balanced wrong. I don't like it. It wasn't really fun. I think if anything, I do like Mosswood Dread Knight, which is not a food spell. I like, where's the Enchantment Saga? I like the Huntsman's Redemption, which is not a food spell. I do think that Greta has some possibilities, but that's, I mean, usually the legendary creatures do, right? Anyway, let me know what I'm missing. This is, out of all of the decks, I don't know. Who's using Snack Time? Are people using this deck more than once? I don't know. Didn't like it. All right. We'll thank our sponsor. That concludes going through all 10 of Wizards pre-made decks. So hopefully you've looked at the advantages and disadvantages watching me play them so that you don't have to. There's a couple that were fun. I don't know if I'd say that 5 out of the 10 were fun, but we are looking for the fun. And Wizards, it's not like the old days. Back in the late 90s, they had maybe 6 people on their development team. There are now, in their modern R&D section, they have like 50 people that are involved with designing cards and putting together decks and stuff like that. 50 people that are working on this. And you would think it should be easier for us to find the fun than ever before. But the point is, they were making these pre-made decks. The pre-made decks are supposed to help the newer players. They're supposed to help give us ideas on how they want us to be playing with the certain expansions. Hence the Food Synergies deck from Eldraine. I don't know. I think they're falling down on things quite a bit. Out of all of these pre-mades. Yeah. Second Chance didn't work as well as it should. Snack Time wasn't working as well as it should. To a certain degree, Crack the Case and Desert Oasis had their own problems. Ancient Discovery didn't work as well as it should. The Fairy Pranks we had a miserable time with. There's not a lot here that's impressive, to tell you the truth. I'd probably still be tempted to use Desert Oasis. I love the Dino Mites. Outlaw Posse worked pretty good. Power to the People worked pretty good. And Saddle Up worked good half the time. So maybe if we're being generous, you've got maybe half of the 10 decks that you might not feel bad about taking into Arena and playing around with from time to time. In my mind, after this many years for Wizards making this game, only 50% hit on their pre-made decks is kind of a failure to me. I hate to say that, but we'll leave it there. As always, we thank our sponsor. We ask you to like and subscribe, and we ask for your feedback on this Snack Time deck. And leave a comment if you have an overall impression with the overall 10 pre-mades, if you're having a different experience than I am, or if you kind of having the same conclusion, if you're reaching the same conclusion. But we'll move on to do things other than the pre-mades after this. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Have a good one.